I'm Sarah Stapler, and this is my garden. I love gardening, and because of that I sell plants. I also have a little gallery where I also have paintings as well. We're not doing that this year because of the COVID, so we're just basically being outdoors and selling perennials, which we've been very busy, and I'm very happy with that because that means a lot of people are getting out in their garden and enjoying gardening. This garden started about 30 years ago when I built my house. And I love hosta. I love plants, and I love hosta in particular. And I would go buy a hosta and I would never know what it was going to look like when it got to be big. I realized that I could plant a garden and have a plant stand that would complement each other. People could go through the garden, see what the plant looks like in the garden, and then see what that plant in the pot is eventually going to look like. I tend to put a lot of hosta together, a lot of daylilies together, so I'm trying to mix them up a little bit. It's difficult because daylilies obviously really want as much sun as they can get, and hosta really is a more shade-loving plant. So as you come along, you'll see now we flow into more hosta and astilbe, which is another plant that loves the shade. So then also peonies. Peonies are here. This is a peony area. Elderberry, black lace sambucus. It's one of those plants that you've got to find just the right place for it. Obviously, this is the right place for this. And what I love about gardening is that there's always something new to learn. There's so much I don't know, and so it makes it interesting. Now, I can't put any more gardens in. I keep saying that, and then I go and I put another garden in. Fortunately, I only have 3/4 of an acre, and if I had more than 3/4 of an acre, I would really be in trouble. And this is a neat allium, pretty incredibly cool, along with his friend, Mr. Foxglove, which this has been a great year for me for foxgloves. They are all over. My favorite ones are the pure white ones. This is the drumstick allium, and very different. To me, allium they're a little bit of whimsy. They're these lovely globes that say, "Stand out and look at me," sort of a Dr. Seuss sort of plant, and I like that. It's a nice version of a hosta. This is sage, which is a very popular hosta. It's a very majestic looking hosta. This is a Catmint hosta, my own variety, and this is one of my seedlings that I have. All my favorite things are back here. My hosta, my ghost fern, bishop's hat, epimedium, which is another one of my favorite things. This piece of land had many, many buildings on it. And in fact, a person who lived here came back and said, this was like alleyways with barns and sheds, and all of them had foundations. So every time I'd garden, it would turn into an excavation. And I'd end up with a big pile of rocks and the garden. These rocks all came out of the ground. So you can see the size of some of the rocks that I was dealing with. They were big. They were huge. Plants, don't get me wrong, I love plants, but if I had to do one thing, it would be building stone walls and playing with rocks. This is my first love. This is what I absolutely love doing. I love doing hardscape where the plants are involved. I think hardscape provides a structure to a garden. And also in the wintertime and times when you don't have a lot of plants, if you have nice hardscape, it sort of carries you through, and it sort of provides a memory of the way the garden is. To me, my garden is more than just plants. It's the gazillion chipmunks that I have. It's the squirrels, it's the goldfinches, it's the pileated woodpecker, and also bees. All the different varieties of bees, the bumblebee, the honeybee, the little ground bees. It's, the butterflies, the moths. It's the whole thing. It's like a community. This garden is my first original hosta shade garden. It has all my favorite plants in it because that's how I designed my first garden. It's got Komodo dragon, which is a lovely sort of dragony looking hosta. And then this is a large leafed gold hosta called Sum and Substance. And then my favorite blue hosta, which is blue Wedgwood. Because the stand has gotten bigger, I'm sort of using it as the hospital area, the place where plants recover from my having hauled them out of the ground just very abruptly as far as they're concerned, and letting them have a little bit of shade and recover in pots. Oh, and then mulch. I love pine needles. I feel that my plants do better than, I think the black mulch looks lovely, but that's a wood chip product that's been painted, and I just don't think the plants like that. I take care of the town gardens, or many of the town gardens. I'll use a mulch, but I will get a bagged mulch, a pine product that's an actual pine bark mulch, and it's a little more expensive, but I think the plants like it better. You know, they say the customer's right, the plant's right, so we do what the plant wants. So these are bleeding hearts, white bleeding hearts, which you can always tell when a bleeding heart really likes the place. They will start seeding all about. And what's lovely about this plant is it can take it's a good shade plant. It can take, a lot of people are looking for plants that will do well in shade. That's a seedling from Mama Plant, because this is my passion. This is what I love doing. But the thing that's really cool is that there's so much I don't know. So that every day and every client who comes, I learn something new. And that's what's so wonderful about gardening. You may know quite a bit, but there's so much more to learn. It's never boring, gardening. And it's not actually, to me, an exact science. It's some of it's art.